Hello and welcome to the She Reads Romance Books podcast, the ultimate show for romance book lovers looking for the best books worth reading. I'm your host, Leslie Murphy, and in each short episode, I share my favorite book list of recommendations so you know exactly what to add to your must-read list. Join me as I explore the romance genre and have fun collecting book boyfriends along the way, because life is better with a love story. Hey readers, in today's episode, I'm bringing you another sort of micro trope list of recommendations of books to read. Now, this episode has been on my mind for a really long time, but I have reader and listener Sarah B. to thank for moving it up in the queue because she emailed me to ask for a list of romance books about reality TV shows. So, Sarah, here it is, and thank you for writing to me with the ask. I love it and really appreciate it. Now, one thing that I personally love about the romance book genre is the amount of variety that it offers, from the various categories of romance like contemporary, historical, or fantasy, to all the romance book tropes that authors use as writing devices to create their stories. And when I was putting this list together, I realized that authors love reality TV, or they at least recognize that it is a really fun plot device for a romance book, and I couldn't agree more. Now, I, for one, and I think I've said this before, I am not a fan of reality TV, and I'm not knocking those who love it, but I just personally can't do it. I have definitely watched, I think, season 1 and 2 many years ago of Survivor, but, The Bachelor, I just can't. I can't do it. And I think it's because I think the name, reality TV is such an oxymoron. It's not real, right? Things are definitely contrived or edited for drama. Otherwise, people really wouldn't tune in to watch it, right? So I get it, why people do love that and all the drama. So if you do enjoy them, great. And I'm happy that they give you joy. I think my older sister, she used to say that she wanted to go on the Amazing Race, which I can see why that would be fun. But I think I would be out as soon as I would have to cross, a crazy ass bridge or something. My husband loves to watch Below Deck, and I wouldn't mind, chartering an awesome yacht for an epic vacation, but would prefer to do so not with a camera crew, with us. My father, though, he watches The Bachelor, which I think is hilarious because you wouldn't guess that about him if you met him. But anyway, there are some wild and crazy reality TV shows out there, and some really fun reality shows created in the books too. So let's go ahead and talk about them. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about 6 of my favorite reality TV romance books. But if you want even more to check out and add to your TBR list, then go and visit shereadsromancebooks.com, as I have a list of 30 reality TV romance books for you to love. And so check it out. Leave a comment about which one is your favorite, or if there's one that I didn't include on the list that you enjoyed, definitely let me know. But I'm going to start with one of my favorite romance books of all time, and that is Royally Matched by Emma Chase. Now, this book came out, back in 2017, and it seems like forever since Chase has released a book. So I'm hoping that maybe she has something up her sleeve in 2024. I'm not really sure. We'll see. But if you haven't read this book, I can't recommend it enough. It is actually part of her Royally series, of which all of the books are really awesome. But this one is definitely my favorite, and it involves a reality TV show with a prince, Prince Henry John Edgar Thomas Pembroke, Prince of Westco, to be exact. But he's not just any prince, okay? He may be the second-born son, but he's now stepped up to be the brother to inherit the throne because his older brother went and married an American, relinquishing his right to become king. So you can pick up book 1 in the series, which is called Royally Screwed, to get Nicholas's story, which is great and worth a read. But knowing that Henry is going to inherit the crown, what he does when the queen is away, he decides to go make a reality TV show called Matched Royal Edition. Of course you did, Henry. But it is a reality TV dating game show that has 20 of the world's most beautiful blue buds all gathered in the same castle, competing for the prince's heart. But it's actually one contestant's quiet sister who's off camera that ends up catching Henry's eye. So, where to start with this romance? Gosh, just thinking about it makes my heart flutter because I loved Henry and Sarah's story so much. Both of these characters are just so completely wonderful. Henry is, struggling with the responsibility that landed on his lap about becoming king. He doesn't want to become king, but he knows that he will eventually step up. But being on this reality TV dating show is sort of his act of rebellion, even though he really has no interest in any of the women competing for his affections. Sarah is this quiet bookworm who works in the library, so of course I love her already. She's super shy, but she finds herself kind of opening up to Henry whenever he escapes into her room for a reprieve from all of the filming because she doesn't have any cameras in her room. So it's this common tale of, the playboy falling for the quiet book nerd, and yet it wasn't really the same old story at the same time. I love the way that they were honest with one another in their shared quiet moments. This book actually extends past the reality show taping a bit, and that's really what solidified my love for these two and the strength of their relationship. This book has one of the most satisfying epilogues that I still remember, like I said, to this day. So yeah, the ending, the epilogue, gosh, really got to me. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to have to go reread it because I loved it so much. Definitely check out Royally. My next favorite reality TV romance released this past year, and I know I've already talked about it here on the podcast, but it bears repeating, and that is The True Love Experiment by Christina Loren. This reality TV romance is Christina Loren's, the author's love letter to romance book readers, which I think they write that in their prologue or maybe in their acknowledgments. I can't remember. But it really is because it focuses on a romance book author, and they tie in all of our favorite romance book tropes in a really super clever way. So this book is about Fizzy, who I mentioned is a romance novelist, but she's lost her muse, right? She's at a place in her career where she feels sort of like a fraud because she realizes she's never been in love, like the epic love stories that she writes about. And so while she's in this sort of existential crisis, she gets approached by Connor Prince, a documentary filmmaker and single father, to create a reality TV show called The True Love Experiment, where the idea is to help Fizzy find love. So I mentioned this book in my Best Romance Books of 2023 episode because it was one of my favorites of the year. And in that episode, I again reiterated I'm not a fan of reality TV, but if The True Love Experiment ever went live on TV, I would totally be glued to the screen to see a romance author choose between men representing different romance book trope archetypes. I just love that idea so much and think it would be really, really cool. And it's funny how that idea came to be in the story because Fizzy pitched it to Connor to kind of throw him off his game and to move on from the project. But he came through, even finding a contestant that fit the vampire romance trope. So Fizzy was on the hook to participate, and that's when the fun begins in the book. She ends up going on dates with 8 men who represent the different tropes. The former boyfriend who represents second chance romance, the bad boy, the military man, the sweet nerd, you name it. But the best part of the book were the exit interviews for each episode where Connor interviews Fizzy because they have the best banter with one another and their chemistry is just off the charts. Evident to those watching the show and, of course, to us readers. This one was just super cute and fun and definitely a favorite of mine, so I highly recommend The True Love Experiment. All right, my next favorite reality TV romance is The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. Fans of The Bachelor will adore the premise of this one. So Charlie is the latest prince on the reality dating show Ever After. He's desperate to right his reputation, which was destroyed after a panic attack, leaving him blackballed in the tech industry. But for a man with OCD, anxiety, and panic disorder who doesn't like to be touched, ever after proves to be his worst nightmare from the word go. Luckily, Dev, who is a producer on the show, knows a thing or two about scripting people and finding their happily ever after, even if his own love life has crashed and burned. Dev steps up to kind of like handle Charlie and help him along, and he comes to sort of understand the real person under the crown and on the show. The charm offensive, gosh, it was just that. It was so completely charming and earned a spot on my best romance books of 2021 list, as Cochran really knocked it out of the park with her debut novel. I found it impossible not to love Charlie and Deb, two really wonderfully diverse characters who felt so real in their fake world of reality TV. This is a book that weaves a really sweet, slow burn romance with beautiful writing and great character development, with a much needed look at mental health and the importance of self-care. I loved the amazing relationship development of Dev and Charlie behind the scenes, where two struggling men are really, finally and truly seen for who they are, and themselves finally believe that they're deserving and worthy of love. So I loved that message of this book. And even if you're not a fan of romance, I highly recommend reading it because it was just an absolute delight with a reality TV backdrop to their love story, which was adorable. My next favorite reality TV romance book is $1 Million Marriage by Katie Evans. This reality TV romance book is an opposites attract romance that blends, the reality TV shows of Married at First Sight and The Amazing Race. Sounds kind of crazy, but it works, and it was really awesome. Nell is the heroine of the story. She has a ton of student loan debt, so her friend convinces her to try out for a reality TV show where she would marry a complete stranger on national television. Someone she just met, she's going to marry him. And of course, the producers pair her up with her complete opposite, Luke, who needs the money to save the bar that he owns. And so the two of them end up getting married, and then they travel together and compete against 8 other couples to try and win the $1 million grand prize. So again, this book was just super fun. A bit drama-filled at the end, not going to lie, but still a really great read between the high school dropout and the girl with the PhD. So Nell was obviously the brains in this setup marriage, and he was sort of the brawn, but despite them being complete opposites, they really worked well together and, of course, fell for one another in the process. It's a bit of an insta-love story because the competition, wasn't that long, but I loved the setup of this reality TV romance, which is definitely worth a place on your TBR list. My next favorite reality TV romance book is Off the Air by L.H. Causeway. This is the first book in her Running on Air series, which features a reality TV show about parkour athletes. Super cool, if you ask me. I always think back when you mention parkour, when people talk about parkour, I think of the scene in the James Bond movie Casino Royale, where Daniel Craig is chasing after a bad guy through this construction site. It's really cool, and I love that movie. If you haven't seen it, you should just turn into that scene. It's pretty cool, but I digress. Back to Off the Air, which is also a second chance romance because 2 of the group on the show are exes with some significant baggage from how their relationship ended about 2 or 3 years ago. Leanne Simmons and Callum Davidson were enemies to lovers and then back to enemies with an on-again, off-again relationship over the years. And because of their shenanigans, they are asked to sign a contract for their TV show that says, under any circumstances, they won't have any romantic relations while filming the upcoming season of the UK's top-rated reality show Running on Air, which they do end up signing because they don't want to give up their paycheck or what they love to do for fun. But because these two never make things easy, Callum and Leanne make a bet as to who will cave first. So this book is basically, the two of them with their 4 friends traveling around the world to film different parkour stunts in famous places while trying not to fall for each other again. The highlight of the book is definitely the stunts they design and pull off. It was really amazing. But of course, it's also this like push-pull of their attraction and the jealousy that comes through in the book as well. These two actually had, tragedy strike, which I won't say anymore for spoilers, but you may want to look at Causeway's website for any content warnings about it. So they're both really reeling from that tragedy, but pushing each other away in the process. So it's angsty, but a really great enemies to lovers book, and definitely one with a possessive hero if you love those. Highly recommend Off the Air. Another favorite reality TV show romance that I read very recently and loved is On the Plus Side by Jenny L. Ho. I talked about this one recently too because Logan, the male hero from the story, is one of my favorite book boyfriends of 2023, who I totally gushed about in that podcast episode because he was just amazing and the perfect cinnamon roll hottie. But the book and the show is about Everly Winters, who finds out that she has been nominated as the next contestant for On the Plus Side, a reality TV show that's working to change dialogue around fat representation and take back the negativity surrounded by the word fat. She is the perfect candidate because she's changed in recent years from this, carefree woman who lived out loud like her plus-size grandmother, but who now tries to blend into the background and kind of wants to remain unseen both in her professional and personal life. Her makeover, however, which I loved, didn't make her into something that she's not or something socially acceptable, but focused on bringing out her true self, which is really what the beauty of what that reality TV show is all about. And the author also gives us 2 co-hosts to adore that helped Everly along the way. They were the perfect addition and side characters to this story. Plus, then there's Logan. Got to mention him real quick. The cameraman who followed her everywhere. He was just amazing, as I said, one of the best book boyfriends because he totally and utterly supported Everly, and they just fit so well together. Their banter together was perfect, showing their chemistry and growing feelings with one another despite trying to keep their relationship a secret and off camera. I loved the premise of this fake reality show, the characters, the writing. It was wonderful. A really great, great read that I recommend. And that wraps up this episode of my favorite reality TV romance books. I don't have another one on my TBR list as of now, but I do have Only and Forever by Chloe Lisi queued up on my Kindle, which is her new release coming up in 2024. So I think I'm going to be diving into that book soon. So I will keep you posted on that. But as always, thanks for tuning in and happy reading because life is better with a love story. That's all for this episode of the She Reads Romance Books podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and found some new books to add to your TBR list. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. It really helps me reach more romance book lovers like you, and I appreciate your support. If you're a book boyfriend collector like me, then you'll want to join my email list so you never miss a podcast episode or a new book list. Just visit shereadsromancebooks.com/join and sign up today. As a thank you, I'll instantly send you my list of top 10 book boyfriends that will make you swoon. Trust me, you don't want to miss this list. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.